Hi guys, just a quick update, long overdue as ever. Today is actually the first anniversary that Jaden's diagnosis became official. So it's just crazy that it's been an entire year. So I'm kind of like reliving it all today, remembering how much like it hit me, how much of a, I don't know why, like obviously I fought for it for 3+ years. 3.5 years, yeah, probably like 3.5, coming up 4 years by the time it was official. In the end, we went down the private route. So it's not like I didn't know that it was coming, but about a week before he went for his um, in-person assessment, the like actual main part of his assessment in Coventry, I completely fell apart. Like I was hysterical. I've never been so emotional. Is that the word? I guess it's just emotional. I was like hysterically crying for hours. My partner would just be like trying to even like get me to be able to speak a word, and I could not physically speak. I was just a mess. And that started maybe like a week before his assessment, and then yeah, it took a long time to slowly kind of like get better, but it hit me like an absolute ton of bricks, and I can't even explain. For all those years when people tell you that you're crazy, and you're like, I'm not crazy, this is real, you almost want them to be right, because obviously like nobody wants their child to have a disability, nobody wants their child to struggle. But he's doing really, really well at school. Still things that need to be in place that aren't, like the HCP, and I don't know, he keeps telling me that he does all his work on his own now, so obviously that's something I need to address with the school, because he's not by any means at the curriculum level, so he shouldn't be working on his own, he shouldn't just be left to his own devices. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that, but all in all, he's doing really, really well. He was horrendous over the summer holidays, and I don't think I mentioned this in a video before. Obviously I mentioned that he's been horrendous and it's been really, really difficult, but his teeth started suddenly coming through right at the end of the holidays, just before he went back to school. He'd had like a gap, like a double gap at the top, like both his front teeth out for a while, and then all of a sudden I looked. He was like lying back over my lap, and I looked in his mouth, and it was physically like bruised, like his gum was blue, where his teeth were trying to break through. So I think, I'm not completely sure, because it all kind of happened at the same time, and he went back to school, and like in that week that he went back to school, his behaviour like really calmed down massively just in that first week of being back at school. But I think sometimes when he can't process pain, or can't like express like, or his brain can't even process like what's happening, that maybe that was what it was. I don't know completely, but we are back to just, on an even keel. Everything's going so much better. So I'm hoping that maybe that was what it was, because he was on reins, he was screaming, he was violent, he was just horrific. There was no other word for it. It was, yeah, the summer holidays were awful. And then like that, within a week of going back to school. So it's partly obviously being back in routine, but I think that pain maybe like played a part in it as well. And he won't talk about anything like this. Say like, if is it your tooth or anything, he's just like, no, no, won't acknowledge that anything's happening in his mouth. Um, but yeah, so he's doing really, really well. And we had a couple of weeks of tears going back in, and the anxiety thing. Like, there are a few things that I need to speak to a GP about, because her anxiety, and I guess you'd call it intrusive thoughts and nightmares, are getting worse. She's good as gold at school, but yeah, there's things that she's struggling with that I need to speak to a GP about. And also, I was really, really brave, and 2 weeks ago, I reached out to my GP to have a face-to-face appointment to talk about referring me for an autism diagnosis. And then the day of my appointment, so I had like a face-to-face appointment made, and then the day before that, I started getting poorly, and that day I was really, really poorly, so I had rang them and kind of said, can we change it to being about both, that I would come in and like still talk to them about the autism assessment, but also I needed these antibiotics. And then I just got so poorly through the day that I couldn't even go to the appointment, and I just had a phone consultation. So we need to rebook that, but it's positive, because it's so scary. It's absolutely terrible. Like, it's a positive thing, I know it's a positive thing, and it's something that I need to do, but it's absolutely terrifying. And I've literally put it off for like, well, I think something came up on my Facebook from like 3 years ago where I compared myself to Jaden and said like I understand that like the majority of things Jaden struggles with, I still struggle with as an adult and certainly did as a child. So yeah, 3 years ago I acknowledged it, and now I'm actually, which is ridiculous because if I'd have gone to a GP 3 years ago, the waiting list like I'd actually have a diagnosis now, but instead, in the next couple of weeks I'll get that appointment rebooked. It's just a case of having the time or whatever. Yeah, but I'll get that appointment rebooked, and I want someone to sit me down and actually like go through, because I don't know whether certainly autism, but like I wouldn't be surprised now with ADHD as well. So I want them to obviously send me to maybe like a psychologist first, and them to say whether they want me to just go for the one assessment or whether they want me to go for both. Rob's also on the waiting list for his ADHD assessment. At some point, I think Ella's going to end up with a diagnosis of one, if not both. So we're well and truly going to be a neurodiverse household, which is, yeah, it's crazy, but I think that's why it kind of works, is that we all kind of like understand each other on a different level, because we all kind of have different things that we struggle with, that we kind of like understand each other better. I mean, don't get me wrong, like me and Rob like clash because our brains are so different and we're both so stubborn, but we also are very patient with each other in kind of things that we do struggle with that I don't think somebody neurotypical would necessarily understand in the same way. So yeah, by in the next couple of years, because Rob's been told it's another 18 months on the NHS, unless at some point he can do right to choose. If he actually has to wait through the NHS, it'll be 18 months until he gets seen. So that's crazy, and he could do medication this second, to be honest. But yeah, 18 months to even get seen, and then potentially 2 years until you get medicated is just crazy. But that's the NHS, isn't it? And that's still quicker than an autism assessment. So yeah, we're all doing fairly well. We're struggling on, and yeah, that was just a quick update.